thank the San Francisco Global Movie Fest for having us and for honoring all the filmmakers with an opportunity to show our films either to small or big festival audiences, but it's a great opportunity for us to get the word out and to show our films to people who love independent filmmaking and films that are difficult to see. So I want to thank you very much for honoring us.
The pleasure is all mine. It's such a wonderful movie, and I have to thank you to get this movie to our festival. So we are very glad to have such a wonderful movie. Thank you so much to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. I don't know if there's time for another question or.
Yeah. Any questions? Any questions?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Before I ask the question, I just want to say that this is very, very informative, like extremely, because if this goes out, it will eliminate so much ignorance going on since 9/11. You know what I mean? When it comes to certain people being classified and stuff, and being able to, you know, see the points of views of each side, you know, from the American side and every other side.
It's a very well-balanced film, and we tried, Ben obviously Ben is a devout Muslim, and he does do the call to prayer in mosques. That's why we had access to actually film that, which is very unique. As far as he and I know, no Western film has ever actually captured that in an authentic way like we have. We're preparing for prayer, etc. So we wanted to devise a film that showed a Muslim man as a human being, as an individual, and not as a caricature. And obviously Ben's character is on a wrong path. It is a non-Muslim path as a right-wing fundamentalist. And it's in fact his religious beliefs that are brings him back to center with the Harry Lennox character, who plays an imam and teaches him the right path of being a good person and being a good Muslim. And that ultimately is what changes his decision in the end and puts him on a moral path. So ultimately the film is about a Muslim hero, an Algerian hero that saves the day at the end of the film, and you don't see that coming out of Hollywood. At best you see psychotic terrorists that blow things up, and you never really understand why, or what the position is, or what the politics behind it, what the ethics are behind it. So we give his character and the father character, who's the head of the terrorist cell, and a proper reason for doing what they're doing, to the extent that we understand. And they're not just running out there with no thought. There's a reason for what they're doing, and they want their day in court. The way they go about it is questionable as freedom fighters, but in the end, we think we achieved a well-balanced film where we have a final moral and ethical character.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth and then some more, because I really love it. That's the exact same reason. That's the exact reason why, you know, I really love this film. But what I had to ask on a more technical side, because I recognize the actors, you know, that played Lana and the guy in the mosque from one of my favorite films and stuff. How did you go about casting? Is it like a union or?
They're all professional actors. We have 37 speaking parts in the film, and with a few exceptions, everyone is part of the Screen Actors Guild, and we have a contract with the actors. And how we went about casting, Ben and I are very fortunate because we live in Hollywood, which is basically the mecca for great actors. There's phenomenal actors all around the world, don't get me wrong, but for us, the accessibility is fantastic because we work with these actors. They're our friends, they're people that we have meals with, that we go see movies with. So as we were developing all these characters, Harry's a friend of mine, and I had him in a short film I had done before, and I'm like, no, Harry would be great for this character, let's use him for this. And Ben said, oh, I know this guy named Zuhair Haddad, he's a great actor, let's use him for this. And Saeed came from Ben's world, and Candice and Sharon Ferguson came from my world. So we were able, through a network of friends, to cast the entire film through people that we knew, either directly or indirectly. I called Harry up, and I'm like, hey, I need a guy who can do this. He's like, I got a guy. Called me up, we met, and he was there, did a great job. So we do have another actor in the audience, Mr. John Damon. He played a part in the film. Bravo, John. It's also his birthday today, so happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday.
And Miss Sharon Ferguson is in the audience. She played Sister. She's shy today. Don't mess with her. So that's how we went about casting it. The crew, basically, we assembled the crew in the same way. We had all the crew members are either people that I've worked with in the past. I'm a studio lighting technician by trade, and that's what I've done for the past 18 years in Hollywood. I've worked for all the major studios. I'm in a union, so I have access to any piece of equipment that is made for making movies. I have access to, and It's a great community of filmmakers. I just called a buddy, I'm like, hey, I'm shooting this weekend, I need a crane. No problem, we'll deliver it. So it takes years to get to a place where you can pull that favor, and you can only pull that favor once, so all my wells are dry right now. So the next one I need a budget, so if anyone has $2 million, I'm working on something right now.
It's a very, very, very strong movie which I have seen so far. I mean,
thank you.
Hope everyone liked it. Please.
We worked very hard.
Yeah.
Question?
Yeah, I want to know the origin of the story, how you got the bunch together, and where the story came from, and all that stuff.
Ben Youssef, who is the lead actor in the film, plays Ali. He and I are old friends, and we met at Gold's Gym in Venice, mecca of bodybuilding. So he and I started discussing, after 9/11, we were just discussing politics, and he's a working actor in LA. He was in Steven Spielberg's Munich, and he pitched me an idea. I'm a writer, director. He pitched me an idea to collaborate on a film about 9/11, about the 20th hijacker. So I passed on it repeatedly because it was too complex of an indie movie to make. And Oliver Stone had just made a film on 9/11. It was too touchy a subject. It's difficult making a period piece. Even if a movie's 5 years in the past, you have to nail down everything from cell phones to cars. It's just too complicated for a smaller company to do. But I liked his idea of having this sleeper cell terrorist that didn't do a job, and why, and what was involved in his emotions to step away from the job. So Ben and I got back together and we developed a story that you see here today, which the core is a good man that went down a bad path and eventually turned around last minute, and in this case saves the day. So it's a great morality play, and we developed that story not only around a religious ideology, but more about an ethical ideology. The film is really about morals and ethics. It's about deconstructing preconceived notions of people, their skin color, their background, their religion, what they look like, what their vocations are. Everyone has a story, everyone has a reason for doing what they're doing. And the irony that he fell in love with a girl who turned out to be a prostitute who he viewed beneath himself, he being a person that was set out to kill millions of innocent people, at the very end he sort of does a 180. We shot on 2 continents in 9 cities over 2 years to complete this film. The beard that I'm wearing in the film is real. It took me about 8 months to grow that, and I hated to shave it, but I had to for another scene. So we pieced it out over sections of time with the availability of funds and locations. So had we had a very healthy budget, we could have shot it in 8 weeks with a big crew and a huge machine behind it. Our crew was normally about 4 or 5 people. On some days it was up to 20 people, but for the most part we had a small little Navy SEAL attack crew of 5, and we shot slow for the most part, and we took our time, and whichever scenes we were working on, that was the focus. So there's a couple short film director producers here, and I wanted to relay that my experience in directing and producing and writing 3 prior short films made me ready to go ahead and do this film. This film was essentially stitching together 40 short films. So we shot a total of 46 days, like I said, on 2 continents. I flew to a 3rd continent to work on post-audio. We spent a tremendous amount of time and energy on post. The editing was version after version after version. We were using test audiences. If things weren't clicking, we went in and we fixed it. I'm a huge fan of letting the audience decide if the film is good or not the filmmakers, because we can only do so much to a point and then we're irrelevant. As craftsmen, we have to really listen to and respond to what audiences like and don't like, so far as what's in front of them. And re-editing is critical, rescoring, a lot of ADR, adjusting music, finding new pieces. We reshot 1 scene only, which is pretty cool. We reshot the scene because it came to our attention that the dialogue in the scene was not representative of a political position. So we wanted to be sticklers to that, so we reshot a scene for that reason, and the new scene now is much more powerful. So I hope that answers your question. Great question. So the composer of the film, his name is James Bartlett. He's a young child prodigy, genius, and I rarely use those terms. This is the real deal. When I met James, he was 15 years old. He composed this film from, I think he finished it when he was 17. He and I worked on it for a year. Essentially every single Sunday, every weekend, I'd go over to his house. His father had built a studio in their basement, and he is just tremendous. He's a tremendous talent. He's a very dedicated artist, and he was able to go version after version after version. I drove him crazy, and I'm like, gotta fix that, I wanna tweak this. We kept going back until he got it perfect, and the proof is there. The soundtrack, we have copies of it for today. For those of you in the audience, don't leave without one. You can bring that home. It has the full soundtrack to the film and all the original score, and I hope you enjoy that. It's special music, it's beautiful. We even use a choir in Stockholm that we recorded in a church for the final cue, which is the end credit song. And it's beautiful music on its own, so I hope you enjoy it.
The lighting of the movie, it's really amazing. Some of the scenes I really like the lightings. And anything you want to talk about that lighting?
Yeah, the lighting and the cinematography is that comes from a lot of it. Well, I lit all the scenes, and a gentleman named Anthony Rudenko shot the film.
Yeah.
My background is, like I said, I'm a lighting technician, so I worked on some small movies like Avatar. So when you're working with those guys, you learn a lot. So I have 30,000 hours on set as a lighting technician, and it's just in my blood. I don't have to think about it. I can just do it. That's why I had to stand here, right?
That shows
first
in the movie, yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate the lighting is really beautiful. It's very it's stylistic for some scenes, but because of our budget and time, I really focus on taking an approach of lighting natural. Mm-hmm. So most of the scenes have a natural feel to it. We use window light as a key light, and then we just round it out with some other positioned units. So it doesn't feel like that super backlight, Hollywood looking, edgy kind of lit movie. I don't personally like lit movies, even though I come from that background. There are some great cinematographers out there, like Vittorio Storaro, that made a career out of making movies look unlit. But there's this technical side to filmmaking. You need a lot of light to make certain things happen. The key is not to make it look lit. So I appreciate that you saw that, and a lot of heart and soul went into the lighting and everything else. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yes.
One more question. What camera did you shoot on? And then also, how did you raise the funds for this movie? Or did you just self-fund?
The cameras that we actually use 3 or 4 different cameras. The bulk of it is shot on a Red, on the Mysterium, and then we went up to the Epic. We went from a 4K chip to a 5K chip. It took 2 years, so the camera had changed in the course of 2 years of shooting. That was the bulk of it. Everything shot in Los Angeles is on a Red. Everything that was shot in New York, New York, Las Vegas, and in Algeria was shot on a 5D. The reason was twofold. One, we wanted the look to be completely different from the Los Angeles world, and secondly, for permitting reasons, we pulled permits for Los Angeles. It was easier, but the Red camera is so big and it's got a lot of parts and cases. To travel to New York, to Vegas, and to Algeria with this massive camera was impossible. So I was actually the person who, I'm also a cinematographer, so I also shot the Algeria sequence, the New York, and the Vegas sequence, because the 5D, as you know, with just a little bit of gear on it, it's a small camera, so you can really manipulate it in areas. If you're not pulling a permit, if you want to go in under the radar, it's a much easier camera to use in those environments.
Awesome. Thank you so
again,
much.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
and I look forward to the party tonight, so
yes,
we'll be there.
Yeah, everyone please be there. It's an award ceremony starts at 6 onwards, so yeah, there are so many events happening there.
Great.
Followed by
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And this is a
you.
great opportunity, so I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank